On the 5th day of being taken home by my biological parents, the fake heiress stopped me in the garden. She leaned close to my ear and said viciously, "Do you think coming back means you can replace me? Mom and Dad and our brother will always love me the most. Don't you dare dream otherwise." I looked at her, my heart filled with pity. How pathetic, to pin her happiness on others. Keep what's yours, what's mine, you can't touch. The fake heiress thought I was provoking her and glared at me fiercely. Immediately after, she fell backward into the flower bushes. The commotion from Susan's fall attracted everyone in the house. Her knees were scraped, with beads of blood oozing out, which made Mr. and Mrs. Smith extremely distressed. They pushed me aside and hurried over to help the unconscious Susan up. Susan slowly opened her eyes and whispered weakly, "Dad, Mom." This scene infuriated Alan, who rushed over and immediately slapped me. With a loud smack, my right cheek instantly swelled red, the searing pain overwhelming me. "Sarah, how could you be so heartless? I've told you before, the mix-up in our lives wasn't Susan's fault. Can't you just let her be?" As Alan's scolding voice faded, Mr. and Mrs. Smith also cast looks of disgust in my direction. "I'm no pushover who'll take abuse lying down. Years of hardship have taught me to stand up for myself, without hesitation." I slapped Alan right back. Under their shocked gazes, I pointed at the surveillance camera above and said loudly, "Is your family's surveillance just for show?" Accusing me without even checking. How stupid and cruel. I shook off Alan, causing him to stumble back a few steps, nearly falling. At that moment, Susan, nestled in Mrs. Smith's arms, whispered, "Dad, Mom, brother, don't blame sister. It's me. I shouldn't have clung to this family. It's not sister's fault," as she spoke through tears. The Smith family hurried to comfort her. "I don't want to watch this farce anymore, and I say coldly, if you're really worried, take her to the hospital any longer and the wound will heal on its own." At my reminder, they hurriedly sent Susan to the hospital. The door closed, and the lively garden fell silent, leaving only me behind. Their closeness made me feel like an outsider. Since this place doesn't belong to me, there's no reason for me to stay. I never do meaningless things. My life is simple. A 20-inch suitcase can hold all my belongings. In less than 2 minutes, I packed my documents, phone, and clothes. I didn't want to owe them anything. Estimating the Smith family's financial level, I paid for these 5 days at the rate of a high-end homestay. To avoid trouble, I withdrew cash from the bank and also printed the transaction statement. I placed the money, letter, bank card, and statement on the coffee table to prove we were even. After deleting their contact information, I dragged my suitcase and left this house that was never mine. I returned to my small rented room. Everything was just as I left it, not a speck of dust in the house, as if I had only stepped out to buy something. I tidied up a bit, washed up, and collapsed onto the bed, falling asleep almost immediately. At 6 the next morning, my internal clock woke me right on time. It wasn't until I was about to leave that I remembered. I no longer had a job. On the day I was recognized by the Smith family, they took it upon themselves to resign from my job at the coffee shop for me. That was also the day my financial aid got canceled. Without income, that familiar anxiety and the oppressive feeling brought by poverty surged back. The poor don't have time to grieve. 1 second wasted could mean going hungry. I counted the money I had left. Only $980 remained. This money has to last a month, covering utilities, phone bills, and buying study materials for senior year of high school. Even if I only eat instant noodles every day, it'll barely last over 20 days. I opened the part-time job group I had joined earlier and started editing my profile. Being young with the tight schedule of senior year, jobs like working at a coffee shop or handing out flyers are no longer suitable for me. After much deliberation, I decided to apply for a tutoring job. I was admitted to a prestigious high school through recommendation and have consistently ranked at the top of the honors class. Teaching elementary and middle school courses would be no problem for me. Less than 2 hours after sending out my information, an agent from the part-time job group contacted me, saying many parents were impressed by my academic record and wanted to hire me as a tutor. These days, quality educational resources are scarce, making even a 16-year-old student like me a hot commodity. Finally, I chose 3 parents who offered the highest prices. After deducting the agency fee, the money was enough to cover my basic needs. 2 were for weekend in-person tutoring sessions, divided into morning and afternoon slots. The other was for online tutoring every evening, which didn't conflict with my study schedule. the 3-day holiday ended. And the school gate was once again crowded with students complaining about how quickly the break had passed. For me, school was a symbol of hope, the place where I could change my destiny. The top class students immediately gathered around me when they saw me, asking about my reunion with the Smith family. I spread my hands and said calmly, "They've mistaken me for someone else." The classmates all showed expressions of regret, patting my shoulders to comfort and encourage me. In my heart, these classmates are closer than so-called family. They genuinely care about me. The homeroom teacher walked into the classroom carrying a stack of exam papers, and the students quickly returned to their seats. After that came exams, classes, and evening self-study sessions. Life returned to its usual tense yet mundane academic routine. I believe that only knowledge can change my fate, and only knowledge is something no one can take away from me. What can be snatched away was never truly mine to begin with. Just as I thought life was about to return to normal, trouble arrived. During class one day, Mr. and Mrs. Smith barged into the school building with Susan and Alan in tow, aggressively pounding on the classroom windows. I absolutely hate being disturbed while I'm studying. With the teacher's permission, I met them in the office with my homeroom teacher. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom, a wad of cash and papers was thrown at my face. Caught off guard, I stumbled back a few steps and was steadied by the teacher. "You heartless thing. How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch?" The sudden curse left me stunned, as classmates in the classroom poked their heads out one after another. "Sarah, what's the meaning of this act? We just said a few words to you, and now you're making a scene. With you pulling this stunt, people will think our family mistreated you. How is Susan supposed to face others after this?" The Smith family members were talking over each other, while Susan leaned against Alan, her eyes reddened, looking pitiful and vulnerable. This reminded me of what happened that day. Today is the 28th, and I left on the 23rd. It's been 5 days before you came looking for me, and not once did you ask about me during that time. Since that's the case, why should I stay there to be disliked by you and make myself miserable? Mr. Smith was taken aback for a moment before replying. "You're my daughter. You ran away from home and cut off ties. How are we supposed to face others after this? If it weren't for you hurting Susan's knee, would we be this angry?" I looked at this so-called father and sneered. "You don't love me, you love your reputation. You wanted me to play along with your happy family act, but I didn't follow your script. Susan is obedient, so you favor her more, no matter what she does to me. As long as she remains your perfect daughter, you'll always take her side." Hearing this, Susan broke free from Alan's embrace, grabbed my hand, and begged through tears, "Sister, come home. It's all my fault. Please come home. I promise I'll listen to you from now on." Her tears fell on my hand, her eyes red from crying, looking utterly pitiful. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be fooled by her fake sincerity. "Stop pretending, no one's buying your act." The voices of classmates came from behind. The classmates all spoke up for me, criticizing the Smith family members one after another. "Miss Susan, your knees must be made of gold. It took you 5 days in the hospital to recover. Mr. Smith, what you're doing is illegal. Intentional harm and defamation have serious consequences. Would you like me, a high school student, to educate you on that? I've never seen such a family before, finding their biological daughter but not cherishing her, still treating her like an outsider, only getting anxious after she's left. With this attitude of yours, you still want to take her back to continue suffering." The classmates' words were like sharp blades, leaving the Smith family speechless. The homeroom teacher also tacitly stood by without stopping the students. Alan couldn't hold back anymore and rushed over to pull me. "Sarah, don't be so ungrateful. You ran away from home just to get our attention, didn't you? Look at the mess you've made. How are Susan and our parents supposed to face anyone now? Come back with me and reflect on what you've done." He gripped my arms so tightly it felt like my bones might shatter from the pain. This wasn't an invitation to return, it was outright coercion. I refused to go back. Several classmates immediately stepped in, pushing Alan away and pulling me back into the classroom, shielding me behind them. "What do you want? She doesn't want to go back, yet you're forcing her. What's the difference between you and a bandit?" "Teacher, call security quickly." At this moment, the teacher finally called the security office. The security guards arrived quickly, using batons to separate me from the Smith family members. "Please leave the school premises immediately and refrain from disrupting the students' classes." Mr. Smith grew frantic, grabbing the security guard by the collar and shouting, "I'm her parent. I'm taking her home." The security guard glanced at the homeroom teacher, who shook her head. There is no record of you in the student files. I'm sorry, but please leave the campus and do not disrupt the teaching order. The homeroom teacher's tone was cold, clearly showing no favor toward the Smith family. I'm her biological father. Please leave, or the school has the right to call the police. The homeroom teacher's composure formed a stark contrast to Mr. Smith's. Mr. Smith cared about his reputation and didn't want this incident to tarnish his name in City A, so he had no choice but to leave with his family. But I still saw the resentment in Alan's eyes and the smugness at the corner of Susan's lips. This farce had temporarily come to an end, but I knew they wouldn't let me off so easily. The Smith family driving away their own biological daughter is undoubtedly a family scandal. They will surely come back again, trying to drag me back. The homeroom teacher suggested I live in the school dormitory. She has always taken good care of me, from freshman to senior year, helping me countless times. Just like my own family, she said she could help me apply for a single dorm room at school and even get a reduction in accommodation fees. I looked at the dormitory application form and considered it carefully. Although living on campus isn't very convenient for coming and going, and there are curfew restrictions, it's better in every way than living outside. At least I wouldn't have to worry about rent and utility bills. I agreed. After all, it's just a few more months. And the accommodation fee isn't a big issue. When my classmates found out I was moving into the dorm, they offered to help me move. Seeing their warm smiles warmed my heart. So, I do have people who care about me. On the weekend, more than a dozen classmates gathered downstairs at my place. Their family conditions are all quite good, so coming to this old residential area for the first time, they were all surprised and curiously looked around. Sarah, the place you rented is so far away. How early do you have to get up every day? It's cheap, no greenery, poor sanitation, and outdated wiring. What's the point for you? Just for the sake of saving money. The classmates were first surprised, then all showed expressions of sympathy. They started helping me move things, rolling up their sleeves one by one, full of energy. In no time, someone got dust on them, someone stepped on a bug, and the hallway was filled with their exclamations and laughter. What was originally a tedious moving process became full of joy, with a few boys even competing to see who could move things faster and more. It's a pity I didn't have much stuff, so the first round of the competition ended quickly. Exhausted, we collapsed onto the luggage cart, laughing uncontrollably, laughing at the dust on your face, laughing at him stepping on a cockroach. The gloom of the past few days gradually dissipated in this warm spring day. They asked me about my future plans. I took a deep breath and said firmly, what else can I do? Study hard and prepare for the college entrance exam. Aren't you going to get revenge on them? If I were treated like that, I'd definitely make them pay. My classmates all chimed in, hoping I would fight back and return all the grievances I had suffered. I looked at them and nodded. Who said I wouldn't seek revenge? I'm no saint. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I won't become their subordinate. One day, I'll be their superior. They looked at me with eyes full of admiration and encouragement. Sarah, we must stay in touch from now on. If you ever need help, we'll be there without hesitation, with the enthusiastic help of my classmates and teachers. I smoothly moved into the school dormitory. The old landlord was very understanding and promptly returned my deposit. At the same time, I received my first tutoring payment, a full $9,500, which was no small amount. It eased my worries considerably, as this money would be enough to sustain me until the college entrance exams. If I worked even harder, I might even be able to save enough for university tuition. The teacher recommended several provincial and national level competitions to me, saying that achieving good rankings in these contests would be very helpful for future academic advancement. I never refuse anything that benefits my future prospects. Over the next few weeks, I studied and prepared for the competitions almost non-stop, with little rest. In the end, I won first prize in the provincial English speech contest and second prize in the national physics competition. Although the process was extremely challenging, these achievements made it all worthwhile. The teacher smiled and encouraged me. With your academic performance and these awards, getting into a top-tier 985 university is definitely within reach. Push a little harder before the college entrance exams, and you might even have a shot at Tsinghua or Peking University. I nodded gratefully, but the relentless studying and busy schedule had taken a toll on my health. I fell ill. The teacher sat by the bedside, gently wiping my face and replacing the cool towel on my forehead, softly saying, "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. with your abilities, getting into university is definitely within reach. Her voice was tender, like a spring breeze, warming my heart. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, the class monitor hurriedly knocked on the door and entered, handing the teacher a phone with an anxious expression. It turned out that the Smith family had exposed me online, accusing me of deliberately pushing Susan and cutting ties with my family, criticizing my poor character and demanding the revocation of the awards I had won in the competition. Upon hearing this news, how could I possibly focus on recovering? For a time, my misdeeds spread like wildfire in City A. People online were calling me unfilial and vicious, saying I didn't deserve the award at all. Some even petitioned the competition committee to revoke my prize and demanded that no one high school expel me. The 3 families I tutored also fired me, cutting off my income once again. Perhaps due to illness, I became particularly fragile and sensitive, feeling on the verge of a breakdown. In the school conference room, I saw the Smith family again, dressed impeccably. They sat there as if they had done something supremely righteous. "Child, don't blame your parents, Mr. Smith said hypocritically. "Mom, Dad, and your brother all have your best interests at heart." Mrs. Smith chimed in as well. I let out a cold laugh. "Revoking my awards is for my own good. Getting me expelled from school is for my own good. Making me lose my job is for my own good. Having me bashed online is also for my own good. So if you kill me someday, would that be for my own good too?" I thought I would roar in anger, pouring out all the grievances of these years, but my voice remained calm, without a single ripple. Mr. Smith sighed helplessly. "We just wanted to teach you a lesson, to make you a good girl and come home obediently." I stared at him coldly. "Is that my home? That's your home with Susan. You say I cut ties with you. I accept that, because I know you never treated me as your real daughter, but accusing me of pushing Susan down the stairs, I won't accept that." I asked Alan to check the surveillance footage that very day, but you refused to look, insisting on framing me. "Is that how you treat your own flesh and blood?" Alan rolled his eyes impatiently. "Sarah, can you stop being so petty? Holding on to such a small thing." Their attitude disgusted me. Maybe it was because I was still running a fever, but my anger flared up uncontrollably, my body burning as if on fire. "I'm petty, you were the ones who brought it up, and now you're saying I'm not generous. I never enjoyed a single day of care in your family growing up. That's something I'll remember for the rest of my life." Mrs. Smith was about to lose her temper when Susan, thoughtfully, stopped her. "Sister, don't blame Mom, Dad, and brother anymore. Don't be angry. Come home with us. As long as you come back, Mom and Dad will retract the news. If you don't want to see me, I'll leave. Just promise to take good care of them when you go back." As she spoke, she began to cry again. Mrs. Smith pulled her into a comforting embrace, while Alan hurriedly wiped away her tears. "I'm really fed up with their hypocritical act. Look at how close your family is. Where is there room for me? If I go back, everyone will be unhappy. So why bother? I've already left on my own. Why can't you just let me go? What exactly do you want from me? Will you only be satisfied if I die? If you don't love me, why did you come to claim me in the first place? You've treated Susan as your own daughter for 16 years. Just keep doing that. Why do you insist on bringing me back? If I go back, who will even love me?" My voice grew louder and louder, and they were stunned by me, seeing my emotions escalating. The teacher and school administrators quickly pulled me away from my seat. Suddenly, my brain felt starved of oxygen, my vision went black, and I fainted. The teacher touched my forehead and exclaimed how hot it was, then urgently arranged for someone to drive me to the hospital. Before losing consciousness, I saw only shock and anger on the faces of the Smith family, not a trace of concern or love. They watched coldly as I spiraled into madness, broke down, and fainted. I don't know how long I lay in the hospital, but when I woke up, my teachers and classmates surrounded my bed, full of concern. They told me I had been unconscious for 2 days. Only after the doctor repeatedly assured them I was fine did they finally relax. The cyberbullying incident instigated by the Smith family had already died down. It turned out that on the day the school arranged a meeting between me and the Smith family, my classmates had live-streamed the entire process. With the tacit approval of the school administration, several classmates whose families are in media and internet industries helped spread the news, and now the entire city, even the whole country, knows about the Smith family's online bullying of their own daughter. My reputation was saved, but I couldn't keep the National Physics Competition Award, though it was only second prize. It represented the results of my day and night efforts. Losing it still left a hollow feeling in my heart. A tear fell uncontrollably onto the pillow. My teacher wiped it away with concern, saying, "Child, you are loved. We all love you." I looked up at these people who loved me, their warmth giving me the comfort I had always longed for. The tears could no longer be held back. And I burst into loud sobs in the hospital room. This cry seemed to release all the grievances I had endured over the past 16 years. From a young age, I knew my mother didn't love me. She didn't work and spent all day playing cards. If she lost, she took her anger out on me. If she won, she'd buy alcohol. She locked me in the house and wouldn't let me go outside. Every time I heard footsteps on the stairs and the sound of keys turning in the lock, I was terrified. I could only hug myself tightly and curl up in a corner. When my mother drank, she would call me to the living room. She wouldn't let me do anything, just stand there. Then, after finishing each bottle, she'd throw it at me. If I was lucky, the bottle would graze my leg and smash against the wall. If I was unlucky, it would hit me on the head. At this moment, Mom would clap her hands and cheer, laughing loudly, then tell me to stand still and keep throwing the bottles. After finishing her drink, Mom would collapse onto the coffee table and snore loudly, with broken glass scattered all over the living room. This went on until I was 5 years old. One day, Mom got drunk, slipped in the bathroom, hit her head on the sink, and died on the spot. The summer heat made everything spoil quickly, and Mom's body gradually emitted a foul odor that soon overpowered the stench of alcohol filling the house. I wanted to go out and seek help, but after starving for several days, I had no strength left. In the end, I collapsed at the entrance and slept for 3 days. When I woke up again, the house was filled with a foul stench, and swarms of flies and maggots were crawling out of the bathroom. On the 4th day, the neighbors finally called the police. It was on that day I learned I wasn't my mother's biological child. No wonder she hated me so much. Later, I was sent to an orphanage, where life became slightly better. There were no more randomly thrown bottles, no beatings or scoldings. And I could finally eat my fill. The director and caregivers often pointed to the elementary school 2 streets away from the orphanage and said, "Education is the only way to change your life. Education can make your dreams come true." So, while the other children in the orphanage spent their days leaning against the front gate, hoping to be adopted, I always curled up in the reading corner, devouring every book I could find. Because of this, I became the only child in the orphanage who remained unadopted by the age of 12. With the orphanage's financial support, I attended school. Thanks to my outstanding academic performance, I skipped grades in both elementary and middle school, becoming the pride of the orphanage. I knew exactly what I wanted, to have enough to eat, to live a life like those well-dressed adults driving fancy cars, and to break free from the suffocating grip of poverty. Later, no new children came to the orphanage, which should have been a good thing, but the orphanage was shut down, and the director and caregivers were all dismissed. Once again, I was left without a home, but the director helped me one last time. He rented an apartment for me under his own name and found me a part-time job through a friend, allowing me to survive in this city. On the day the director left City A, he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. As long as you rely on yourself, you can face anything with confidence." The Smith family came again like annoying flies, impossible to shoo away. Both the teachers and classmates knew how shameless this family was. The teachers stopped the outraged classmates who wanted to rush forward and stand up for me. "Have you had enough of this drama, Mr. Smith?" didn't offer a single word of concern the moment he saw me lying on the hospital bed. Only blame and impatience. "You've saved your reputation, even if you lost an award, but now our family is being talked about. Enough is enough. Quickly tell your classmates to withdraw the public criticism against our family. We're all one family. Don't make this too ugly. Your sister Susan still has her art exams next year." The Smith family's gazes were icy, and Susan was hiding behind them. Nowhere to be seen, their favoritism was glaringly obvious. "One family, who's in the same family as you? Susan has her art exams next year, but I have my college entrance exams this year, and you had the heart to incite public opinion to cyberbully me," I retorted furiously. Seeing that I wouldn't back down, Mrs. Smith stepped forward and slapped me across the face. "You ungrateful brat. You're the older sister, and Susan is the younger one. She didn't even blame you for pushing her down. Yet you're accusing her. Let me tell you, my blood runs in your veins. You're coming home with me today. whether you like it or not. She didn't care that I still had an 4 in my hand and immediately started pulling at me. She yanked my arm forcefully, dragging me to the ground. During the struggle, the needle was pulled out, and a few drops of blood splattered onto the hospital gown, glaringly vivid. The teacher and classmates quickly stepped in to stop the commotion, and the ward descended into chaos, even alerting the nurse on duty. Suddenly, a scream cut through the turmoil, and the ward fell silent in an instant. I held a fruit knife and made a long cut on my own arm. Mrs. Smith, who had been so aggressive just moments ago, screamed in fright. Mr. Smith and Alan also turned pale with fear, frozen in place. I held the fruit knife and my bleeding arm out to the Smith family. If this is what satisfies you, then drain my blood dry. I'll return your blood to you. Just let me go. Perhaps I had nicked an artery. The blood wouldn't stop flowing, quickly pooling into a large puddle on the ground. After saying those words, I could no longer hold on and fainted once again. The sounds of nurses urgently administering first aid and the shouts of teachers and classmates echoed in my ears. The Smith family quietly slipped away once more, leaving only the sound of hurried footsteps behind. After that, they never came again. Due to prolonged hypoglycemia and malnutrition, I was hospitalized until the college entrance exams. Because of my health condition, I couldn't study properly. I scored 691 points in the mock exam, but it dropped straight to 628 in the actual college entrance exam. A 70-point gap was enough to make me miss my dream major at a top university. Teachers and classmates accompanied me in the hospital ward to check my results. The moment the number 628 appeared, my tears fell. I let down the hard-working version of myself from over a decade of study. I let down all those who helped me along the way, and I let down the dean's words. "You are our pride." The teacher gently rubbed my back and held me in her arms. "It's all right, child. A score of 628 can still get you into a great university, and you can always pursue postgraduate studies or even a PhD. It's because of your health that you didn't perform your best. It's not your fault. You're still the teacher's pride." That's right, Sarah. If it weren't for those despicable people interfering with you, the more they comforted me, the harder it was to hold back my tears. In the end, I chose to repeat the year. I was determined to get into the best university in the country. I was going to change my fate. I was discharged from the hospital, but since I was repeating the year, I could no longer stay in the school dormitory. Out of compassion, my teacher helped me apply for a local study room that provided accommodation. The study room had a great learning atmosphere, with self-service laundry and a library, but the cost was high. Even with a student discount, the fees gave me a headache. I started looking for online tutoring part-time jobs again. However, due to my college entrance exam scores and the online bullying incident involving the Smith family, fewer families sought me as a tutor, and the fees dropped significantly. I could only tutor elementary school students. To cover the costs of the study room and repay the hospital fees advanced by the school, I had to squeeze every minute of my time to fill my schedule completely. For the next year, I slept only 4 hours a day, completed 2 exercise books in 3 days, and taught 2-hour online tutoring sessions to prevent myself from falling ill again. I stocked up on vitamin tablets and compressed biscuits. During the busiest times, I even missed my period for 2 months. Only with such a tight schedule could I barely avoid starving. During this period, the Smith family threw a grand birthday party for Susan, renting the most luxurious banquet hall in City A and inviting celebrities from all walks of life to celebrate for her. The saying, "To love someone is like tending to flowers," holds true. Susan was nurtured by them into a peony in full bloom, proudly displaying her radiance, while my youth could only curl up in a cramped rented room, gazing at her splendor from afar through the window. To be honest, I was envious, but this envy quickly transformed into determination. One day, I will stand on the brightest stage of this city through my own efforts, to prove to the world that Sarah is not a weakling who silently endures in the darkness. By the time of the college entrance exam physical the following year, my weight had dropped from 105 pounds to 78 pounds. The clothes that once fit me now hung loosely, with the wind constantly rushing in through the sleeves and collar, but I had grown accustomed to such days. Hardship and suffering only fueled my fighting spirit. On the day of the college entrance exam, the area outside the test center was packed with parents seeing their children off and police officers maintaining order. They repeated their instructions to their children over and over again, and the examinees, carrying their families' hopes, stepped into the battlefield that would determine their lives. Even though it was my second time taking the college entrance exam, I still couldn't suppress the nervousness in my heart. My eardrums clearly transmitted the heartbeat from my chest. Suddenly, someone in the crowd called my name, Sarah. I turned my head abruptly. It was the teacher, dressed in a bright red dress symbolizing a triumphant start, holding up a sign with my name as she pushed through the crowd. Go Sarah, don't be nervous, relax, go for it, class rep, show us your true potential. We'll be waiting for you at Tsinghua and Peking University. Look at the questions first when you get the exam paper. Led by the teacher. The classmates who were supposed to be in university classes rushed to the iron gate, shouting my name. My family is here too, I'm not alone. I took a deep breath, held my head high, and walked into the examination hall. I'm pressing it. Teacher, don't shake your hand. Let's count down. 1, 2, 3, 697 points. 697 points. That's 6 points higher than last year's mock exam. We've got this. The room erupted with cheers and laughter that could pierce the clouds. And my body warmed up along with their excitement. I did it. I hugged my teacher and classmates, laughing until tears streamed down my face. I didn't let them down after all. Wonderful. Sarah, we'll meet again at Tsinghua or Peking University next September. What major are you planning to choose? How about physics? You're so brilliant at science. Get out of here. Our class rep is definitely applying for Chinese language and literature. She even scored full marks in liberal arts back then. A few classmates started bickering just like in high school. Seeing that I couldn't break free, the teacher quickly pulled me aside and began carefully helping me analyze my options. Actually, I already had plans. I pointed to the Tsinghua Peking University major directory and said, Finance. I'm applying for finance. The words fell like needles, and the room was quiet for only a moment before bustling again. Our class rep wants to dive into business. Boss Sarah. I'm studying law. Spare me a job as a legal consultant. Woo-woo. Sarah, you must save the marketing and PR position for me in the future. Looking at my classmates, who were all starting to dream about the future, I stepped forward and hugged them one by one. Then we all need to study our majors well. Otherwise, if our professional skills aren't up to par, I won't be able to afford to pay you, right? People say that after the college entrance exams, students go their separate ways. We seem to be different. Although we're not in the same major, we still often gather together, openly and secretly competing. Some compete to get into graduate school, some compete for direct PhD programs, and others compete their way abroad. I'm one of those who competed their way abroad, due to my outstanding academic performance. I was recommended by several professors and received the opportunity to study abroad for my postgraduate degree, with the generous scholarship from the university. I no longer had to worry about financial issues and began my postgraduate life in business studies in country Y. Thus, I reunited with those friends who were constantly pushing themselves to the limit. However, it was precisely because of competing with them that my stress resistance improved dramatically, translating into stacks of excellent papers, each hundreds of megabytes in size. Returning to my alma mater, my name was already listed among the distinguished alumni, back in City A. Susan still appeared radiantly on major advertising screens. She had become a nationally renowned rising star, the pride of the Smith family. At this moment, my revenge had only just begun. Sarah, have never been a magnanimous person. The grievances I've suffered, I will surely return them twofold. News of my entrepreneurial venture in City A spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of my competitive, overachieving friends. Now, some of them have returned to inherit family businesses. Some have joined major corporations, and others, like me, are preparing to start their own ventures. To me now, they are not just friends but also investors, and more importantly, they represent the top-tier connections in this city. After carefully revising the business plan over 10 times, I distributed it via email to my unlucky friends. Within 2 months, I secured nearly 15 million in investments. Though I couldn't be bothered to think about how much of it was from friendly contributions. In any case, now my plan can finally begin. I recruited the classmates who had clamored to start a business with me years ago. They are all top students from prestigious domestic universities with leading professional rankings, and some even have internship experience at major companies. Their professional competence goes without saying. The Smith family made their fortune through real estate investments, only entering the wealthy circles of City A after amassing substantial profits in the property market. I used to think they were some formidable figures, but upon seeing the full picture as I grew older, I realized they were all just outwardly strong but inwardly weak. To expand their business, the Smith family ventured into the entertainment and media industry by establishing a company. In other words, Susan is the artist that their own company is heavily promoting. I had someone collect the development history of the Smith family's entertainment business over the years and evaluate it. No wonder they're so biased. Susan is their cash cow, but public figures are always prone to rising high and falling hard. It's easy to ascend to the altar, but just as easy to plummet into hell. There have been too many examples of this over the years. My company specializes in film and television production. Unlike other companies that focus solely on hiring popular young actresses and prioritizing traffic, I emphasize both quality and viewership. All film and television productions are centered around the director and screenwriter, with investors and actors prohibited from forcibly altering the script. My company places great importance on the moral character of artists. So all actors are selected and hired from military cultural troops and local drama troops. Leave professional matters to the professionals. A vase should just be a vase. In the first year, few in the market had high hopes for our company. They all said I was foolish, that spending more money on well-performing scripts and hiring big-name celebrities would quickly build the company's reputation. I remained silent, since when has entrepreneurship embraced fast food mentality? It wasn't until our films and TV series, crafted over 2 years, began winning awards and sweeping the nation. Topping the charts on major online video platforms, our results gave the market a resounding slap in the face. The company's market value skyrocketed, just one step away from going public. Strength is the best kind of traction. It was at this very moment that I received Susan's pledge of allegiance. Susan requested to star in our company's upcoming period drama, demanding the lead role. As I reviewed her resume, the secretary also handed me press coverage about her. She debuted young, with lofty ambitions. For years, she's been coasting on the success of her debut work, frequently juggling multiple productions, throwing her weight around, and engaging in publicity stunts with male co-stars outside of film promotions. It can be said to be infamous. The secretary asked me to consider carefully. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't hesitate to reject it, but this is a trap I set for the Smith family, just waiting for them to fall into it. I promised Susan's team to arrange a meeting with the director and producer. The director and screenwriter were displeased, so I had to repeatedly assure them that Susan wouldn't interfere with their work. She was just helping me put on a show. Somehow, news of Susan's meeting with the director and producer leaked, and rumors flooded the internet claiming she had landed another leading role. Susan's team then seized the opportunity to fuel the speculation, dropping hints in their interactions with netizens as if confirming she was indeed the female lead. Meanwhile, Susan in the reception room was brimming with confidence. With her long, straight black hair and light makeup, she looked like an innocent, delicate flower that evoked tenderness. But her attitude told a different story. Leaning back in her chair as if seated on a dragon throne, she held her proud head high. After an hour-long conversation, the director and producer wished they had never met this person. Susan not only demanded the crew arrange a 5-star hotel for her, hire 3 stand-ins just for her, provide a private dressing room with dedicated makeup artists and costume designers, but also insisted on 8 hours of beauty sleep every day. It was utterly outrageous. Unfortunately for Susan, she didn't realize that every team meeting, script discussion, and even this casting session was being documented. The film crew began production, and out of guilt towards all the staff involved in this project, I increased the investment in this drama by 30%. For the first scene of the production, Susan arrived fashionably late. The first scene was scheduled to start at 7 a.m., but the Smith family's black van didn't arrive on set until 1 p.m. As soon as Susan saw the location was in the suburbs, she immediately pulled her foot back into the car. What kind of place is this? It's all mud and dirt. Do you even know how expensive this outfit is? Upon hearing Susan's complaints, the film crew members rolled their eyes to varying degrees. Several supporting actors, who had backgrounds in military performance troops, despised this kind of pampered artist who complained despite having it easy. They immediately stepped forward. Susan, if you want to be an actor, don't be afraid of hardship. The conditions here are already quite good. What are you going to do when we shoot scenes in the desert later? Move an oasis there. Though Susan was wearing sunglasses, one could still detect her rolling her eyes in disdain. Susan snorted coldly. Then let the stand-in do it. Can't they fix it in post-production? Green screens exist too. What's modern technology for? With that, Susan declared she wouldn't continue filming and headed back. slamming the car door shut before lowering her head to scroll through her phone. The black minivan sped away, kicking up a cloud of dust. Since Susan is the female lead, practically every scene in every day's shooting revolves around her. Just as the crew members were seething with anger, the producer and I emerged from the dressing room with the real female lead. Thank you for your hard work. Let's resume filming now. Everyone resumed their smiles and began filming normally. After Susan returned home, she exaggeratedly recounted the events on set to the Smith family. Upon hearing this, Mr. Smith flew into a rage and stormed into my company with Susan in tow. Sarah, what do you mean by this? Are you deliberately making things difficult for Susan? Mr. Smith loudly demanded as soon as he entered. I calmly sat behind my desk, looking at them, and said, Mr. Smith, that's a strange thing to say. It was Susan who didn't follow the set rules, acted like a diva by being late, and nitpicked about the filming conditions. How can you blame me for that? Susan interjected from the side. Stop pretending, you're just jealous of me and deliberately trying to humiliate me, I sneered. Jealous of you, Susan, you overestimate yourself. I gave you the opportunity to perform out of respect for your reputation, but you didn't cherish it. Instead, you made so many unreasonable demands. Do you think any production team would tolerate such behavior? Mr. Smith slammed the table and said, You must give an explanation today, or this matter isn't over. I calmly took out the communication records with Susan's team and the casting recordings, tossing them onto the table. Mr. Smith, take a look at these first. It's crystal clear who's at fault here. If you still want to make a scene, then we'll see each other in court. I'm ready to go all the way. Mr. Smith and Susan looked at the documents on the table, their expressions turning extremely grim. The Smith family left in disgrace, while Susan's diva behavior spread like wildfire online. It turned out that a crew member had recorded Susan's actions that day and anonymously posted them online. Netizens widely criticized Susan for her lack of professionalism. Overnight, her reputation plummeted, endorsements were withdrawn one after another, and a large number of fans abandoned her. Smith Family Entertainment launched a desperate PR campaign to salvage the situation, but to little effect. My company, thanks to the smooth production and positive reception of this drama, attracted more outstanding talents and projects. Riding on this wave of success, we released several more high-quality film and television works, solidifying our position in the industry even further. Susan refused to accept defeat and sought opportunities everywhere, desperate to make a comeback. However, due to her past scandals, no production team was willing to take the risk of hiring her. Watching Susan's downfall, I knew my revenge plan had only taken its first step. Next, I would make the Smith family pay an even heavier price for their past actions. The next day, Susan's team turned the tables, accusing the production team of secretly replacing the actress. Netizens rushed to the official production team's Weibo comments section to denounce them. We weren't to be trifled with either. We directly released the crew's behind-the-scenes footage. No need for extra words. A single video could explain everything. After that, I had the PR team quietly push the public opinion to its peak, secretly release Susan's audition footage, secretly release all the suppressed scandals about Susan from previous years. One scandal, the Smith family might be able to suppress, but what if multiple crimes are combined? The Smith family must be in a panic right now, and they've offended more than just our company's production team. The once glorious superstar has overnight become a disgraced outcast, drowning in scandals. The Smith family is currently in the eye of the storm, overwhelmed with efforts to quell Susan's scandals. It seems the empire is on the verge of collapse. If not now, then when? To protect their investments, the shareholders of the Smith family began selling off their shares, all of which I steadily acquired. I had PR add fuel to the fire, finally waiting for the Smith family to sell their shares themselves. Now I've acquired the 10% of shares Alan sold off, along with scattered shares bought from other shareholders. Now I am the largest shareholder of the Smith family, and their fate rests entirely in my hands. At this moment, my friend quietly reminded me of what the Smith family did to me back then. How could I ever forget? I walked through the doors of the Smith family's company, followed by a group of the Smith family's old shareholders, all the way into the chairman's office, where the Smith family members sat with worried expressions. Mr. Smith had grown much more haggard, with many new white hairs added to his head. Mrs. Smith and Alan protectively shielded Susan with concern. The moment they saw me, they froze momentarily in surprise. Mr. Smith looked up and met my gaze, his voice trembling as he asked who I was. I offered a practiced smile and extended my business card toward him. Executive Director of Star Entertainment, Sarah. In his terrified gaze, I saw my own radiant self. Sarah, how did you? I smiled as I looked at him. You want to ask how I ended up here, right? I took the documents from the secretary's hands and passed them to him. I've acquired 71% of the Smith family's shares. Now I'm the largest shareholder of the Smith family. According to reason, I now have the authority to execute and make decisions for everything in the Smith family, right? The old shareholders of the Smith family behind me chimed in agreement. Mr. Smith's veins bulged on his forehead as he shouted, absurd, and slammed the table. Standing up abruptly, then, as if remembering something, he took my hand. Sarah, my dear daughter, you surely wouldn't bear to see your parents in distress, would you, Dad? You can see I'm doing quite well now. Could you help Mom and me out, please, Dad? I'm begging you. He emphasized the word, begging, heavily, as if it had taken him a long struggle to say it. Daughter, didn't you only have one daughter? The beloved celebrity daughter doted on by you and Mrs. Smith. You're mistaken about one thing. I do have the heart to watch you struggle, and I feel absolutely nothing. Mrs. Smith rushed forward, trying to pin me down just like she had when she forcibly dragged me off the hospital bed years ago. Fortunately, the secretary stopped her. Sarah, you're our own flesh and blood. How could you say such things and do such deeds? Ungrateful, utterly ungrateful. Mrs. Smith's eyes welled up with tears as she stamped her feet in frustration. Cursing me for my filial impiety, I saw the situation and confidently stepped forward. To accuse me of being unfilial, first tell me, did you ever raise me? Did you ever treat me as your own daughter? Susan slandered me, and you all turned a blind eye. During my college entrance exams, you manipulated public opinion to cyberbully me, costing me my awards. I rolled up my sleeves, revealing the deep, long scar on my arm from being cut by a fruit knife years ago, holding it up in front of Mrs. Smith. You should know how this scar came to be. I'm a woman who doesn't care about the consequences when I go crazy. Actually, I've thought about why you favor Susan so much. Raised with your own hands for over a decade, she became your cash cow the moment fortune smiled upon her. From beginning to end, she was merely a pawn in your grand scheme, a subordinate in your script. I turned around, tossed the director's nameplate bearing Mr. Smith's name aside, and took a new one from my secretary to place on the desk. And I will never be your subordinate. I will be your boss. Starting today, Smith Family Entertainment is under my control. You'd better figure out how to turn the Smith family's current situation around and turn losses into profits, otherwise. Don't blame me for kicking you out of this building. With that, I turned and left without another moment's hesitation. I've applied all the pressure I needed to. Of course, I could kick them out today, but corner a dog, and it will bite back. In the following week, I could still see traces of the Smith family's desperate efforts to protect Susan online. It's a pity that creating a tsunami on the internet is all too easy, capable of drowning someone in an instant. Finally, they stopped caring. They no longer controlled the comments or deleted the negative posts about Susan, letting her reputation rot and stink online. The Smith family began promoting a new figure named Aurora. The Smith Family Entertainment is now an enterprise under my management after all. How could I possibly neglect it? I had no choice but to send a newcomer to salvage the situation. Aurora initially gained modest popularity through short video platforms but faced restricted growth due to malicious suppression. It was I who gave her a helping hand. Aurora comes with her own traffic and fan base, so the Smith family doesn't need to put much effort into managing her, just pour resources into her. It was around the time Aurora gained a minor breakthrough with a web series that Susan came looking for me. She ignored the security guard's obstruction and barged into my office. Sarah, I looked up from my work to see Susan, who had long lost her former glamour, looking haggard and noticeably thinner. Susan was now at her wit's end, and it was hard to say whether she might resort to extreme actions. As she approached, my hand reached for the pepper spray in my pocket. Sarah, I was wrong. Please forgive me, save me. Susan knelt before me. Sarah, I was wrong. I'll return the Smith family to you. Please save me. I sneered and waved my hand dismissively. You go ahead and cherish the Smith family. I don't want them anymore. But they don't want me anymore. Susan burst into tears. Clutching at the hem of my clothes, humbled to the extreme, Sarah, save me. I still have over 500,000 followers. If we can just calm the public opinion and you give me some more resources, I can definitely turn things around. I'll make you a lot of money. The Smith family and Star are under your control. You can definitely make it happen." I frowned. The current situation was clear to anyone with eyes. How could Susan possibly turn the tables now? I pinched the bridge of my nose. "If all else fails, just marry someone." It was merely a sigh from me, but Susan took it to heart. Her eyes seemed to see hope as she wiped away her tears and ran out of the office happily. During this time, Susan completely disappeared from the public eye, only to reappear later to announce her engagement. She really found someone to marry. She married the youngest son of a domestic listed company. People in the industry gossip to me that this youngest son is the illegitimate child of a listed company's CEO. He loves to party and has plenty of tabloid scandals, with no inheritance rights or involvement in company affairs, living solely on alimony. Susan only secured the engagement by getting pregnant and forcing the issue. Fortunately, as a celebrity, her face and figure didn't disappoint her partner, and the two happily got engaged. The engagement party invitation for her was handed to me by the man out of social courtesy. Susan's engagement party was extraordinarily lively. Even if the illegitimate child was not well off, it was still from a listed company, so the event was grandly arranged. Susan nestled in the man's arms, happily caressing her belly. Apart from career setbacks, the first half of her life could be considered happy. But to everyone's surprise, Alan crashed the engagement party, squeezed in the crowd. I could still smell the alcohol on Alan. With an unshaven face and a disheveled suit, Alan bore no resemblance to the noble young master he once was. Clutching a liquor bottle, he pointed at Susan and the groom. "Susan, are you really leaving me?" Faced with Alan's questioning, Susan no longer maintained her sweet little sister demeanor. Chin held high, she walked toward him with pride. "Alan, just look at what you've become. Sarah is right. The Smith family isn't worth relying on, now. I don't want you anymore." How lamentable. The Smith family abandoned Susan. Susan abandoned Alan. The siblings, who had been as close as lovers, saw their bond shatter like a glass bottle in this moment. Alan raised the bottle and smashed it down on Susan's head. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Alan was immediately restrained by the security guards who rushed in. Just before being dragged out, Alan shouted at Susan's fiancé, "Don't be a fool. The baby in Susan's belly is mine. She's 4 months pregnant, not 2. The man stood frozen in shock, ignoring the blood still flowing from Susan's head. She pulled down the zipper at the back of her dress and indeed saw the corset used to cinch her waist. Susan's redemption vanished like foam in less than 3 days. At this moment, she turned her resentment toward Alan. Early in the morning, I received a WeChat video from Aurora. Susan lost her child and was further tarnished with accusations of fraudulent marriage and incest. Leaving her completely unable to recover, dressed in a hospital gown, Susan walked into the grand hall of the Smith family's entertainment like a walking corpse. She knelt in the hall, forcing the Smith family to come out and face her. Before long, the entire Smith family emerged. The moment Alan appeared, Susan pulled out a knife from her coat and stabbed it into Alan's neck. Although Susan was quickly subdued, Alan suffered massive bleeding the instant he was stabbed. The knife strike was precise, a fatal blow. Susan was immediately arrested by the police, and even as she was being put into the police car, she continued to shout threats. "If I get another life, I'd rather hang out with Sarah. I don't want you anymore. Instant karma, ha 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 ha." In the end, Susan was arrested and imprisoned for premeditated murder, and later passed away from illness in prison. As for the Smith family parents, they lost both their daughter and their son. Falling from heaven into hell, Aurora gathered all the evidence of their tax evasion and handed it to me. They will soon be facing trial as well, with irrefutable evidence. The Smith family parents will also be imprisoned. At the last moment, they turned to look at me, their eyes brimming with tears, yet I turned my head away. Unwilling to even meet their gaze, my revenge was slow, yet swift, but as long as the goal was achieved, it wasn't a failure. They finally got what they deserved. The car drove to the place where I once looked up at Susan's billboard, now no longer as bustling as it was back then. The billboard displayed my company's movie poster, with my name prominently listed in the producer credits, just like the convergence of world lines. I too have now made it onto this billboard, after hearing the story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.